Hey everybody, my name is Beth Moore and I'm the Vice President of People Operations and Pathology. Thanks for coming. So today we're going to talk about employee engagement and not only what that means, but I'm going to present to you some results from our last year's engagement survey. And so for those of you who have been at Pathology for any length of time, you know that we do an annual engagement survey. We actually do a lot of surveys. Which I know is confusing. We have culture IQ, and we do, questions, and we do best places to work, and all these things. But the one that we hold very near and dear to our hearts is the annual employee engagement survey. And the reason it's important to us is for several reasons. First of all, we assess ourselves every year, and it's a figure that we hold ourselves accountable to and present to our board, and it's kind of an indicator of how we're doing. We know that engagement affects our bottom line, how engaged our employees are, has to do with what they're going to be putting forth, and that affects our bottom line. And so our metric that we hold ourselves accountable to is 75% employee engagement year after year. And we beat that since we started the engagement survey, except for last year. We fell short by 1 point. So today, my purpose is to not only explain to everyone what engagement is right before we go into our engagement survey, but also be transparent with you and show you the results from last year and what we've since done about it. I think it's important to note that in last year's survey, which we did in August, only legacy Vology employees were given the survey. So even though we had already done the Vital merger transaction, it was too late for us to load all the new employees up into the survey. So the only results that you'll see today are Vology only. This time around, and the survey is going to launch on October 18th, we are doing everyone collectively. So it's going to be a really interesting new baseline for us to look at. So who does this survey? It's completely done through a third party. It's anonymous. It's done through the Corporate Executive Board. Some of you may have heard of the Corporate Executive Board. This is a third party. It's like a Gartner Research Institute. It's a nonprofit organization that collects data across many, many different industries. And there's 20,000 senior leaders are members in 10,000 organizations over 110 countries. So there's a really good amount of data that they're pulling from, and this is the organization that does this study for us. The beauty of the study is that we get, there's like 300,000 inputs into the study, and we get to bench or baseline or measure ourselves against that, so we know what a good solid industry benchmark is. And so again, we did this last August, so these are the results from over a year ago, and our business has changed quite dramatically since then, but let's take a look. So as I mentioned before, we've done this for 3 years. This will be our 4th year in a row of doing the annual engagement survey. We started in 2013, and our engagement score was 72%. It increased in a big way. In 2014, it went up by 8% to 78%, and then in 2015, we lost some footing. And it doesn't surprise me, just for those of you who were here, we went through a lot of changes and a lot of uncertainty. So participation, good news, has been up every single year. So the very first year we launched the survey in 2013, only about half of the people participated. The next year after that, it was 80%, and then last year we had 85%. I'm really hoping that everyone participates this year. I'm hoping for 100% participation. The survey only takes like a few minutes. I think there's 30 questions that you rate on, and then there's some open comment, optional commentary. But it doesn't take very long, and it's a great way to share with us how you're feeling. So the benchmark column here, this is the industry or average among all the corporations that participated in the survey. So when we look at ourselves against benchmark, we're way above. We're double, we're like 25% above the benchmark. And the tech industry is 59%, and we landed last year at 74%, 25% above benchmarks. That's really great, right? Companies like Google, Southwest Airlines, Zappos, other organizations that are, high engaged, great culture organizations, they're scoring between the 75 and 85 percentile. So that's what we really want to benchmark ourselves against. That's what we really strive for. But overall, the average is about 60%. And you can see in the second to last column here, this is the number of participants that filled out the survey last year against all the participants in the survey worldwide. Is there a question on the phone? If you guys are on the phone, just go ahead and mute your line so we don't have the feedback. And if you do have a question, go ahead and pop it out. And for those of you in the room, if you have a question, you don't have to wait till the end. You can just shout it out. So what is engagement? Engagement isn't, hey, I'm happy at my job. I love coming to work every day. That's a little bit of it. But what engagement truly is someone's commitment to their work, the amount of discretionary effort they put into their day-to-day, which basically means, what am I doing when nobody knows what I'm doing? What am I doing when people aren't looking? You know, if my boss is out of town for 2 weeks, how much effort am I really putting in? That's discretionary effort. Intent to stay is what it says it is, my intention to keep working here. These are the things that make up the engagement score. And engagement as a metric has been proven to directly correlate and impact bottom line results of the business. So highlights from last year. Here's some highlights. And again, we've changed a lot since last year. So, you know, we've added departments that we didn't have. We've divested some departments. But as we look at last year's survey, we were above benchmark in every category. And sorry, for those of you on the line, someone is not muted, and I need you to mute your line, please, so that we don't have feedback. I think I can auto-mute these. Okay, John. Where?
Click the gear up there. I think that's the all. There's a way. There's a way to leave everyone.
I know.
Do that. Go back up top. See the little arrow to the right of annotate. See if there's a view all there.
Well, it sounds like it maybe went away. So, oops. Sorry, guys. I'm going. Okay. Sorry about that. It sounds like they figured it out. So, highlights. We were above benchmark. Engineering was a big win. So the years that 2013, 2014, and then 2015, 2013 and 2014, our engineering teams, which at the time, Legacy Evology was managed services. It was a smallish service desk, and it also included our pre-sales operation and professional services. So that's what comprises the engineering figure that we see here. But the good news was in 2015, we got a 33% lift in the engagement. It was still one of the lowest ranked teams in terms of their engagement, but the amount of growth and progress that we saw was huge. We did lose in sales. We lost 13% in sales and 9% in warehouse. Those were our two biggest losses. And then our highest ranking or our highest engaged teams over all the teams were marketing, which at the time was our creative marketing team, product marketing or product management and pre-sales, which now is called vendor relations and pre-sales, and VPOP. Those were our highest engaged teams. The lowest teams were NOC, and so as not to confuse the Vital folks, this is not the Vital NOC. At that time, we called Evology Service Desk our NOC, which doesn't exactly equate today, but that's our Legacy Evology Service Desk. Offsite, which was a recent acquisition that we had done, I think, in March of last year. So we wanted to see at the time Specifically, we had a hypothesis that newly acquired organizations were less engaged than our kind of legacy Vology team, and we wanted to test that hypothesis. And so we broke out the legacy Bayshore Technologies team and the legacy Offsite Technologies team, and our hypothesis proved true. They were lower engaged than the other teams. We look at top performers. So we ask leaders, and we work closely with leaders to know who our top performers are in the organization, our top 10% of performers as it relates to, sales or whatever metrics that we measure. And we look at those folks as a filter. And in this top 10% of folks, they were 81% engaged. They were one of our highest groups, which is pretty intuitive, right? However, from 2014 to 15, we lost engagement from that top level of performers. So we lost 13% from them, which was concerning, right? Because you don't want to have your top 10% becoming disengaged. So these are things we look at, and it's important to us not just to throw some stats up on the board, but to make decisions and make changes because of them. We also learned, and this was really interesting to me, that as tenure went up, engagement went down. So when we had people who were here like 3 to 5 years, their engagement was less than people who were here 1 to 3 years. And people who were here like 5 to 7 years were less than those in the 3 to 5 year category. And the 10-year plus was the lowest of all. So it was really interesting to me that somebody who had been here the longest, and not in every individual case because we can only look at this in group data of groups of 7 or more. We can't look at any group smaller than 7. But it was interesting. The other thing that was interesting, actually not interesting, this was pretty intuitive, that intent to stay is stronger as tenure goes up. So, the longer someone's here, the more likely they are, or the more they intend to stay here. So those were some things that we learned. The way the survey works, you'll see this in a few weeks here. And by the way, my intent of today's training is not to sway the vote, right? I want you guys to be 100% honest. If you don't believe something is good, do not give it a good rating. If you are having troubles or struggles with something, be brutally honest. We need the honest picture of where we stand. So the intent today is not to sway you, it's to educate you and understand how this process works and how the data is collected. So we do the questions on a scale of 1 to 7, I think there's 30 or so questions. Every question has a 1 through 7, lowest to highest. And we only get points towards engagement if someone scores a 6 or a 7. So the top 2 score, which is a 6 or a 7, which is, I think, like agree or strongly agree. I forget what the actual wording is. But out of the 1 to 7, it's only 6 or 7 that we get engagement points towards. So in 2015, 74% of our employees overall scored us a 6 or a 7 on everything, which is pretty good in my opinion. Blue is the middle scores and red are the bottom scores. Does that make sense? So this is kind of an eye chart, but I want to, again, be as transparent as possible and show you guys all the figures. So on the left are the engagement metrics. This is every metric in the survey that is assessed or measured. And the benchmark represents those, 300,000 or, in some cases there's a lower figure, but this is all the people across all the industries, across all the companies, across all the countries who took this engagement survey. And so these are the benchmark figures here. Vology's figures are here, and you can see in pretty much every case we're above the benchmark. And then over here you can see our year over year. So we look at ourselves 2014 to 2015. We lost points in every category except for discretionary effort. Discretionary effort is the ability or my intention to go above and beyond. Like if somebody's not looking, what am I doing? If somebody's out on vacation, am I going to fill in for her and take her stuff on in addition to my stuff and do that. You know, if my boss is out of town, am I still going to do the same level of work? That's discretionary effort. What am I putting into it regardless of what I'm getting out of it? And so this is the year-over-year comparison. To kind of break this down into what's relevant, for me, what's relevant is our competitive advantage in the employment marketplace. So, you know, when my team and leaders in the room who are trying to recruit new talent are looking at Vology as we compare to other employers, these are the things that are important to know. And for the recruiting team in the room, it's important to know that of all of the other companies involved in this survey, Vology, by a spread of 18%, believes the most strongly in our future. So our future is bright, right? Our future is so bright, we got to wear shades. That means our employees believe that they're optimistic. You know, they're optimistic about our future. And they probably see, you know, because we share a lot about our strategy and our goals and our BHAG and all of this stuff, and it's exciting. But the cool thing is that we can see here that people are excited about our future. So for those of you who are recruiting new talent or talking to potential new talent coming in, you can honestly tell them that people at Vology are really excited about our future and we're optimistic about what's happening. The other big spread we had was our culture and values, and this was really near and dear to my heart. And basically this means that not only does Vology have a system of culture and values that we educate on and people are aware of, but our employees believe that they are being followed. And this, again, we're 17% ahead of our competitors, employment competitors. So that's something we can be proud of. And then other areas where we were ahead, discretionary effort and career and performance. What career and performance means is, do I believe or do I know what my opportunities are here at Vology, and do I know how to move up here at Vology, and do I think that there is a future for me at Vology, and do I know how I'm performing? So our competitive strengths, like I said, culture and values and future engagement. And by the way, culture and values, this is just a fact, a little factoid. Companies who have culture and values that people know about and they believe in and they care about, and they believe that their employers are acting in the way of their culture and values, have a 13% advantage on their engagement capital, which again affects the bottom line. So 33% gain year over year in engineering. Again, this was comprised of the legacy Vology managed and professional services and pre-sales. And so this kind of breaks it down. On the left, these are all the questions that the survey asks. And it breaks it down into each category. The engagement capital, past, present, and future basically means how do I feel about what's already happened to me or what's already happened at Vology. Present is how do I feel right now about our present moment in time. And the future is how optimistic am I about what's going to be happening. And so, again, we're looking at engineering here, which was managed and professional services and pre-sales. And you can see Vology is in the middle column. So as the engineering team stacks up to the rest of the company, they were lower in a lot of the categories, but they had improved year over year. One thing that was interesting is the engineering team was higher than the rest of the company on cooperation. So this says the people I work with cooperate to get the job done. And so in our engineering team, which was our lowest engaged team of all the organization, they were, you know, almost 10 points higher than the rest of the organization in how well they cooperated and worked together. That was really interesting to me. The other high areas, higher than the rest of the company for our engineering team at the time, were their manager. They believed their manager works well with them, communicated with them about their performance. And by manager, the question means my direct manager, not necessarily, you know, the C-level or top-level executive, but my manager. And then the other area they scored higher than the rest of the company was understanding their career opportunities. This was at a time where we were putting in place in services, you know, bonus programs for certifications and tier 1 and tier 2 and field and different ways that they could move throughout the organization. So that was positive for them. And they were satisfied with recognition. Well, I wouldn't say 56% is satisfied, but they were more satisfied than the rest of the organization. So sales, again, we dropped from 2014 to 15. Our top performers dropped, warehouse dropped. Specifically, our top performers dropped in the area of I have adequate resources to do my job and people I work with cooperate with me. So this is concerning, right? Because if we're looking at the top 10% of our organization and they are saying to us, I don't have the resources to get my job done, what does that mean? Does it mean the tools? Does it mean there's not enough people? Does it mean there's not process? What does it mean? The great thing is for leaders, we can break this out by department so you can see if there's an issue in one function of the business or another, and really we can dive deeper into it. And that's where some of these, not to confuse you, but a culture IQ little touch point survey might come out to get more information on what we find here. We might ask a little bit more probing questions or ask for more commentary so we can do something with it. So department by department, year over year over year. Again, engineering was managed in professional services and pre-sales, and then you can see that it was a little bit rocky from year to year, but from 2014 to 2015, we had a big rise, the biggest rise in that subset of employees. Marketing had a great high engagement score, warehouse lost some, sales lost some, accounting lost a little bit, software dev lost a little bit. And then the final 5 categories were new categories that either didn't have at least 7 people in them in the prior years, so we couldn't look at them individually, or they were new categories altogether. And so what our intent was is we'll start create a baseline and start trending that out going forward. Now this year, we'll have the whole enterprise taking the survey. We'll be able to look at it in a variety of different ways, as long as there's at least 7 people on a team or in a department. So last year, this is the Legacy Ecology Service Desk. So what you're seeing in the far right column is the Legacy Ecology Service Desk, or what we used to call our NOC, as compared to the whole of Ecology in the middle line and then the benchmark on the left. And you can see that, there's a lot of really disturbing scores, like this one here, I trust my organization. Only 43% of those folks were able to say that they trust their organization. That, to me, is huge, right? I mean, if I'm a leader in services, I'm not a leader, as a leader, period, I'm concerned about that. And I think that when we share this with leaders of different functions, this is where we can really dive deep and try to figure out, okay, what can we do to improve in these areas? Yeah.
And, this is numbers from last year. Right?
Yes.
So when something like that comes out, 43% trust their organization, what's been done over the past year to further investigate and fix it?
Right. So really great question. And we're going to go over some of the changes that we made, but to answer that question specifically, in this organization, leadership changes happened. And we were able to kind of get more information about why people didn't trust, and a lot of it had to do with some leadership situations. I don't say that to scare anybody. I really don't want that to come off the wrong way. So those of you who have been here a while, we kind of lived through it. We know what the deal was, but, Leslie and Keith are awesome. We are 100% confident in their stability and their excellence and their knowledge and know-how and everything, and they've already done such a great job of earning a lot of the trust of the Legacy Ecology team. You've got it for the Legacy Vital team. The trust is already there. But the Legacy Ecology team, especially in the services organization, has been through it, And so it was tough. But I believe, and we're going to we're going to launch this in October, and we'll share the results a lot sooner than I'm sharing them now. And that's an improvement that we need to make, and we'll make it. But I'm planning on sharing the results in December with everyone. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how those shifts take place. I'll share some other changes that we made, overall in a little bit. But did that kind of answer your question? Any other questions so far? Okay. And then, so again, service desk here, 100% on discretionary effort. So the picture that I got just from a complete outsider who didn't work in service desk, just looking at this is, they trusted their manager, they're working their butts off, they're the highest cooperating team of the whole business, but they don't trust their organization. So the picture that I got was, okay, what's going on? Something doesn't add up, up here. And then intent to stay, we knew that 50% of them were looking for other jobs, which was concerning. Culture and values was lower than the rest of the organization. Work-life balance was horrible. So a lot of things that we had to look at. Their manager, resources, I understand career opportunities was low. So I chose to just point out services because it was our biggest pain point. We can look at all the departments. There were a lot of really great things, but I chose to spotlight that today because it was painful. I'm really hoping, and I believe, that it's going to improve. But again, I don't want to sway anyone's answers. We want to see what the real deal is and be able to act on it. So to answer your question, what did we do to change? We got, I don't know, like 600 comments, Lori, over 600 comments from the open commentary areas. So there's a lot to sift through. We read every single one of them. The executives read every single one of them. And what we were able to do was put them into 6 buckets of themes, and these are in priority order. The number one by far and wide was communication. So it's like, I just talked to one executive and he told me one thing, and I talked to his counterpart like 5 minutes later and he told me a completely different thing. And that was one of the comments. And, there's sudden changes and this person knows but I don't know, and this person's working on this but I'm working on this and we're not working together. And, I mean, it was all over the place. We had all these comments about communication. What did we do about it? This is on your one-pager, which you guys, for every VPOC training going forward, you're going to have a nice, laminated, beautiful one-pager to take away with you and remember all the things that we talked about. You can 3-hole punch it and put it in a binder and, collect these things as time goes on, and it can be your little training resource guide. But on the back of this, where it says, we heard you, these themes that I'm outlining now are on the left, and what we did about it is on the right. So with the communication, hopefully you guys have seen some of this stuff happening. Leslie and Keith just kicked off the monthly services all-hands meeting a couple weeks ago. We're bringing it back. They're committed to communicating to the services organization as a whole together once a month at least. The pop-in announcements, which I know we get a lot of flack for sometimes, but it is the easiest way for us to communicate to everyone all at once in a quick infographic what's going on. So in the pop-in announcements, you guys are seeing who the new hires are, who's been promoted, who got recently certified, and so we can congratulate them. We do the monthly newsletters. We do Barry's monthly videos, which, he is committed to doing these once a month. You should be getting them through email. If you're not getting them, let somebody in marketing know. I know some people, they did go to junk, so we need to know if they're not getting into your inbox, because there's really good information in there. A lot of times he'll answer questions that are coming through, explain changes, org changes, things that are coming down the pipe. So it's important to watch those videos. Daily sales meetings, Madaska has reintroduced these, and the infographic emails. So we really want to share the wins. Bass Pro Shop, big win. Leslie was able to work with Lori and put together a really cool infographic to send out to everyone so we know what's going on in the business. What new customers are we winning? What did we do? It's important to know about the losses, too, so we can all rally around that and fill in the gaps. And that's what the monthly services meetings are going to be about, among other things. The second most, the biggest commentary that we heard about was career pathing and training. So although overall we exceed benchmark in this area, at Vology there was a ton of commentary around not knowing. I don't know when a job is open. I don't know how that person got this job and I never even knew about the job. I don't know how this person got promoted and I never even knew there was a thing going on. So, or I just don't know what my career path is. I don't know what steps 2, 3, and 4 are. So we got tons of commentary around this. What have we done? First of all, we've done a few things and we know that it's never done. We are never like, you know, progress is good. We haven't reached perfection. We still have a long way to go, but we want to commit to continue making improvements. So some of the things we've done, we introduced the bonus program or reintroduced it for technical certifications. We introduced a training calendar, which you guys can now access through the ADP Employee Self-Service, which will show you what trainings and leadership development opportunities are coming down. You can just, you know, sign up for them right on the training calendar in ADP. Excuse me, we introduced the sales training on services offerings, which is great because for a long time, you know, sales was like, I don't know what we can deliver, but I'm just going to sell whatever, and services like, don't sell that, I can't deliver it. So now we are bringing the two teams together and really, and again, we haven't reached perfection, but the progress that we're making is happening. The BDR sales training program, the mentorship program, Jess has put together in VPOPs an onboarding program. So, you know, in the first class, I had people raise their hands who were new. I don't see a ton of new people. Are there anybody here within the last 6 months started at Vology? Awesome. Oh, gosh. So let's see. February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah. So in the last 6 months, Jess has introduced a half-day orientation program welcoming the new hires. If someone started before 5 or 6 months ago, they got nothing. Like literally they would show up and they would be shown their cube and maybe their boss would tell them a few things, but it would be like, see you later, good luck, you know, nice knowing you. And the person would be so lost. And so now, again, we haven't arrived, we're not there yet, but we've introduced a half day of structured information and sharing and introducing to at least help the people feel welcome and like they know what they need to do for the first couple of days. Succession planning training. Process procedures, that was another big thing that we heard about. I don't know the process for this, or I made a process for this, no one's following it, or they have one process and I have a totally different process, and why aren't we sharing SOPs, and what's going on? So with this, again, Vology has nowhere near arrived, but there is progress being made. For instance, from VPOP's perspective, we've posted the employee playbooks. We've updated them after 4 years of not being updated and posted them on the ESS. So now each employee can go there and kind of see, you know, what are the rules of the road? They're there for you guys. Org charts was something we heard about for so long and we needed and we didn't have. So no one could point to an org chart of who reports to who and what's going on. Now we have org charts. Everyone's going to ADP, get an org chart from the top all the way down. Every single box has a name in it, and you can print it out and you can look at it and know who reports to who. People review processes, and this training here today too, we really want to be more transparent about what our processes are. A lot of times, you know, it's like, okay, take this survey, do this people review, do this and that. What we need to do, and we're committed to doing, is providing you the why behind the what. And so that's part of what today is about and other trainings that we've had recently. The lack of focus, number 4, we hear this all the time. I still even heard it today from someone, is I got too many priorities, everything's a top priority. How can I possibly get, you know, 10 things done? I don't have enough time, and what is the real priority? And you know, it changes every day and what's going on. So we still struggle with this. Again, we haven't arrived, but one thing that we've done is divested professional services. This was to allow us to really focus on true ROI of opportunities that are really going to lead to more and more opportunities, and opportunities that we're going to be successful in delivering. So pro services only to managed services customers. Keith and Leslie are here. They are owning services. They're doing a great job. They are really providing a whole, you know, almost 2 decades of experience with Vital coming on to provide stability, which is what we desperately need here at Vology, and be process and focus and help with all of that. Sales, we got tons of feedback on sales, like how are leads distributed, who's what, how do they get these accounts, blah, blah, blah. So and how am I even going to learn how to do my job? There's no sales training. We developed the BDR Mentor Program, which Jen is leading now and training those folks. We have the OneNote that you guys have where all the documents for sales new hires are housed, and training documentation, SOPs are all there in one place where these folks can access it. Account distribution now has a methodical process handled by sales ops, and if any of you guys want to hear about that, schedule an hour with Dave Rich, and he'd be happy to tell you, or 90 minutes, your choice, but he'll be happy to take you through it. So my joke worked in this session, it didn't work in the morning session. There were too many new people. We go through weekly task reports, which is our own scoreboard. Dave takes the executive team through it every Tuesday. We went through it this morning, and we get to look at everything, all the leading indicators, right? The call volume, the pipeline. I mean, there's probably 30 lines of data on the task reports where we're able to share, and it's not a secret if you guys want to see that. Again, ask Dave Rich. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to share that out. And finally, rewards and recognition for non-sales employees. This is something that we've heard year over year over year. Salespeople get all this spiff. They get the Santa bag with the, grab out a $500 gift certificate. What about non-sales people? So we have brought back the Legacy Vital recognition program, which is totally awesome. And we give out 3 $250 awards every single month, 3 $500 awards every single quarter, and 3 $3,000 awards every single year. And these are for teamwork, customer service, and business process improvement. So now there's a way for anyone to nominate anyone across the business, sales or non-sales, for people to earn recognition and rewards. In addition to that, we try to do some fun things like the Sit Hooray, It's First Friday, which was last Friday was our First Friday kickoff. We're going to start doing First Fridays. So First Friday of every month on the green upstairs on the 3rd floor, we're going to sip some champagne, not a lot, just a little, little bit, and welcome our new hires, congratulate our newly promoted, congratulate our newly certified, and just mix and mingle and meet each other. There's Halloween costume contests coming up on Monday on Halloween, and we try to do some fun things and reward folks. So those are some of the things that we've done. Like I said, it's never over. There's so many more things that we need to do. But those are just a few of the things. Any questions about that? Okay, so there's another question on the engagement survey, and it's if you could tell the executive team anything or ask them anything, what would it be? So it's open-ended commentary. In this section, we got 60 comments, and literally there were no themes that we could bucket them into because there were 60 comments and 50 of them were all very unique. So what I did here, and this was over a year ago, I picked out what at that time I thought was most important for people to know. Since then, I think we've made a lot of progress here. But, people wanted to know when we're moving, and they didn't know what the deal was. And, other than GP, what else do we measure ourselves on? And those things are employee engagement, customer satisfaction. And we look at our pipeline and the task report and things like that. So we will, again, this year do the same thing, and we also introduced, or Barry introduced WTF, what's that for, at Vology.com. I think that we've already gotten like 15 questions. They're really good, solid questions that we're going to be answering directly to those folks. But we really want to gather this information not just once a year, but ongoing, so that the Vology can be more responsive to what's going on. And then the final thing is the love section. So of all the sections, it was, what do you love about working at Vology was the question. And what really made me happy was we got the most comments in this section of any other section. So I was really happy about that, 151 comments, and this is a word cloud that I made from all the words. So the bigger the word, the more we saw that word. I'm sure you guys know how this works. But what people thought is, I love my family, I love the people, I love my opportunities, my career. A lot of things that we heard yucky stuff about were the same things that people love about Vology, like opportunity and benefits. Lori can attest to this, we get a lot of feedback both ways with benefits. It sucks, what the hell? It's great, it's so competitive, you know, and that's just the way things go. But these, you know, hip, open, fun, creative, grow, interaction, technology, energy, values, engage. So these are some of the things that you can feel comfortable that this is what makes up the company that you work for. And we do work for a great company that is above industry standards, and the story is really good, and there's a lot of stuff we need to work on for sure. And we want to find out more about what those things are that are current, because this is a year and a quarter old. So that's what we're doing. So next step is, oh, and the coffee made the love list, which was a big win for us last year. And I know you're shaking your head because we've since changed it again, not my decision. So for a while we had like the cheapest possible, you know, gas station coffee. And everyone, it was on the hate list. Like, what do you hate about Vology, or what really needs to improve? Coffee, coffee, coffee. I mean, it was like 60, the coffee stinks, coffee stinks. So we got new coffee. We had a big coffee tasting day. We played little, you know, barista music and put out the red checker tablecloth and had, you know, different coffees come in. Everyone taste tested and picked, and we picked Kawa coffee, and then it came in. And so, of course, it made the love list last year. But now it's done. Put it back on the list. I'm so done. Okay, so now what? What do we do with all this stuff? You know, so much stuff. What can we really do? Well, we know that the culture and values piece has a really big impact on engagement. So the more that our employees know and believe in our values and our culture, the more it positively affects the bottom line. So if you're a leader in the room, or really anyone, I mean, you can positively impact this by talking about it and affecting it. Work environment impacts engagement up to 10%. So if you have a person on your team who maybe now lives 2 hours away from the office, and it wouldn't hurt anybody if they worked from home a couple days a week, consider that, you know, think about that. Other things about work environment, I know the building here is awesome, it's great, it's beautiful, and it's way better than where we came from. A lot of feedback, and I just heard it before I came here, I think Lisa was in the room and Mike, is it's noisy upstairs, you know. Let's think about that. If we need some white noise or whatever, and you are in an apartment that affects that you can make a change, let's think about it, because work environment does affect people. If you are a leader, do you get your team's input? Do you get it often? Do you use it? If not, do so. Do you encourage work-life balance? Does your team know what they're supposed to be doing? Do they cooperate to get the job done? How often are you asking them these questions? It should be often, right? If you're a leader, you should be meeting with each one of your direct reports a couple times a month, just you and them, just really understanding where they're at and how they're doing. The other way we can impact results is in the career and performance area. So another factoid is that the more an employee fully understands what they're held accountable to and how to achieve either the next level or the career promotion steps or whatever it is, the more discretionary effort you are going to get out of them, 33% more, in fact. And that discretionary effort, remember, is what they're doing when you're not watching. What is somebody doing if they're not even held accountable to do it? They're still working their butts off is what discretionary effort means. So we want that. So how do we do that as a leader? We make it clear to them what we expect of them, how they can move up or around or achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. Remember, communication was our biggest downfall. So as a leader, or anyone really, what are you doing to communicate and make that communication better? So next engagement survey launches October 18th. Be sure to take it, tell your teams to take it, tell your friends to take it, tell your peers to take it. It is done through a third party. We do not get to see the results. They come to us in a packet, a soft packet of, you know, aggregate data. So your individual stuff will not be shared. We need this information so that we can make positive changes. And this year, so last year I think we had 190 participants, which represented 85% of our employee base of Vology. This year we have 430 employees, and so I'd love to see all 430 employees take the engagement survey, and so we can get that sample size bigger and see where our new baselines are going to be. So what questions do you guys have?
Do you or can you look at the results for people in leadership roles and compare them to those in individual contributor roles to see if there's a correlation or discrepancy between the engagement?
That's a great question.
Because if you broke it down by department.
Yeah, there's an executive department, but it has to be at least 7. So this year we probably will be able to look at the executive team. Lori, do you know if we can do the managers? We'd have to create a group.
Yeah, we'd have to set it up that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's done for this year, but that may be something we can do for the next semester. So it would be interesting to see how we can do it. We can, if we get the report from otherwise, we can break down that way.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. So Lisa's referring to best places to work. So this is going to be a little confusing. There's 2 surveys coming out. The best places to work survey, I think, launches like November 1st. And this is it's a Tampa thing. It's more of an external branding thing. You guys have seen best companies to work for, blah, 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 blah. That's what that is. The internal engagement survey is only internal. We use it here for ourselves to make business decisions. The best places to work is great for recruiting. They want you guys to fill out the survey so we can, do that. But what Lisa's referring to is, yeah, we can get some information from that. We might be able to get that.
Like a bunch of different ways.
What other questions do you guys have? Yeah?
Yeah, perhaps I missed it, but I was wondering if there's any component of engagement relating to compensation.
Yeah.
And whether there are questions in the survey relating to that.
There are.
In satisfaction with compensation.
Yeah. The answer is yes. And it's in the section called compensation and reward. And the questions are, I am fairly compensated for my work, and I'm satisfied with how frequently my company recognizes individuals. So as a note, so that's a great question. I shared this with executives more than I shared this with you guys. So across the board, yeah. So again, benchmark and Vology. Compensation and rewards is the last thing on this list. Always, and every year on every survey, whether it's CEB or otherwise, it's always dead last on everyone's rating scale, because everyone wants more money, right? So 41% is the benchmark. It's lowest on here. It's also Vology's lowest, which is natural. It's most companies' lowest. But 41 and 55 is the difference between benchmark and where Vology is. What other questions? All right, well, if you guys have any questions that you didn't want to ask in the group and you want to talk to me one-on-one, feel free to see me.